You need to design 3 dragsters this week, and this will show you how to do that, okay? All right, so you are going to get logged in to Whitebox. Now, this is just something else. This was one of the cars I designed. So this is giving me an opportunity to show you how to make a new design once you have a design. So you come up here to File and you pick New. Okay, make sure you pick New from Base Concept. Like that means you're not coming from anything else. Okay, all right, so you have a blank screen right here. You have a list, we're in the engineering section, by the way, and you have a list of eyeballs and you have a list of wrenches. Eyeballs are for looking at things and wrenches are for working on things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our block. And I want you to see, this is what the block of wood would look like that you would actually cut up. And you can see this right here. I'm going to flip around just a little bit. If you click right here on rotate, then you can click on the image. If you have an external mouse, oops, it actually works quite nice. But there's a hole in the back here. That hole represents where your CO2 cartridge would go in the back of your car. And you don't want to get near that hole when you're designing your car, okay? There are specifications you have to follow, and if your car is out of specs, it won't qualify. All right, so we want to work on our block, so we're going to click on the wrench. First thing we want to do is change our body material to basswood, okay? We want to work in basswood, not balsa wood, because that's what we use in the classroom. The blank size is large. Ground clearance, leave it at 10 millimeters. That's the distance from the bottom of the car to where your axle hole would be, okay? You have wheels and axles that would go through your axle hole. Where those are, your block of wood has to be the maximum width of the block of wood, okay? It's very important or you're about to be out of specs. Okay, so you have a rear axle position. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on Refined Solids. And what that does is it gives you texture to your block. And you can see where the hole is and you can see these axle holes. So the maximum length that your car can be is 303 millimeters. That's what it starts off as. The minimum length your car can be is 202 millimeters. And that's an important number. You want your car as short as possible so that it's light. Okay, I'm going to aim for about 205 for the length of my car just to keep it short. Okay, so the first thing here, the rear axle position is 76.2 millimeters. That's the distance from here to here. And then the wheelbase, 152.4, is the distance from here to here. Well, the way they have this set up right now, if I add 76.2 and 152.4, I get 128.6. And I'm sorry, I get 228.6. And if you remember, the minimum length my car can be is 202. I don't want my front axle all the way at 228 because that's longer than I want my whole car to be. So if I'm going to move this one back, I probably want to move this one back. So from the get-go, I want you to move your rear axle to 30 millimeters. Watch this jump and pay attention to the fact that the wheelbase is 152 right now. All right, it moved here and my wheelbase jumped to 198.6. Again, that's the distance from here to here. I'm going to move that back. And I've designed a car, the first car I designed had a 150 wheelbase. The second one I designed had a 140 wheelbase. And this one I'm going to make a 130 wheelbase. Okay, when I hit enter, you can look here, watch that move. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to hit apply for it to move. And then it moves, okay? So, right now, something I want to pay attention to. My rear axle is at 30, and this axle is at 160, because that's the distance of this and this added together. It's important to know that. I'm going to actually write it down, because it'll come into play later. So, I hit apply, and done. All right, so now I'm going to work on my upper, lower, and top profiles, okay? The top profile is the top of your car, and the upper and lower profile are the side of your car. I'm going to take off Refined Solids so I can see where this is so I don't get close to it. Upper profile, I got an eyeball, I got a wrench, okay? It's going to rotate it around. First thing I want to do is add points. It's automatically on here by default. I'm going to add a bunch of points to this top blue line. I'm going to keep them closer to the back because I'm shortening my car. I like to add a lot of points because then it gives you more freedom to move your car, move the lines of your car. All right, so now we're gonna move points. First thing I'm gonna do is move the very front of my car back. I said I like about 205, and I'm gonna come down a little too. So I'm gonna make it 205. All right, now these points, first of all, I'm gonna bring them down closer to the CO2 cartridge hole, okay? I want you to notice how these points are all very jagged right now. And that's because my shape is set to line. I'm going to change it to spline so that I get a nice little more curvy design. Be careful you don't get too close right here. And I'm going to bring these all down. I want this to be aerodynamic. I don't want there to be any points where I hit a hard wall that would increase my drag. All right, we learned all about that in the research, right? All right, so that's good enough. I'm going to hit apply and done. Next, we're going to move to the lower profile, and that's just the bottom line in the same view. I'm going to add some points. So let's do a couple here, 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 here. I like lots of points. All right, now we're going to move points. I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring it back to here. That's number one. All right, remember, I said that my rear axle was at 30. So it's going to be right about here. So what I want to do is I want to move this to the left of 30, and I want to move this to the right of 30. And then the rest, and I want to leave it all the way down at the bottom. Oh, I want to change it to spline again. I want to leave it all the way down to the bottom. And you can make that however you want. And then I can play with all the rest of my points. My front is at 160. So that means I want to have 1 point at one little to the right and 1 point a little to the left. I want them to be all the way down on my bottom line. Okay? And we're going to do something kind of weird. It kind of looks like an anteater, doesn't it? All right, so there is my side profile, apply, and done. All right, we're gonna move to the top profile now. Click on the eyeball, click on the wrench. It only has you draw one side and it makes a symmetrical design for you. So we're gonna add some points. Okay. And then we're going to move our points. First thing we're going to do is we're going to move this back to 205. 205 at 0. Okay. And I'll bring that in to make it pointier. My back axle was at 160. So it has to be maximum width where my back axle is. So something like that. And that's ugly. We'll fix that. Make it a little pointy. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll leave it on line for this one. It doesn't have to be on spline all the time. I'll make it kind of like a funky arrow. All right, in the back, I want to get closer to my CO2 cartridge hole. And this 130, so to the left and to the right. And I'll move that in. All right, kind of looks like a big fat arrow. Okay, so I am going to hit apply and done. And now if I click on refine solids, okay, you can actually see what your car would look like. So I'm going to rotate it and you can see. Okay, so let's pretend we had a problem. Let's pretend I didn't calculate my wheelbase correctly. Let's pretend my axle hole wasn't where I wanted it. So I'm going to come up here to my wrench, okay, and I'm going to change my, I'm going to change this number where my rear axle is to 35. And when I hit apply, you're going to watch. This is going to move and this is going to move. All right, so if this was my mistake, I would need to fix that. And you always want to try to fix it first here. All right, I need to move that back to 30. okay? But if I hit apply, that's only gonna, oh, it actually fixed both. See how this one's not quite perfect? I kind of almost feel like I should make it like 31. But if your axle holes are not in exactly the right place, then you might have to play with your wheelbase and your rear axle. Those are good, but I want to make something wrong so that you can see. So I'm going to come back here to my top view real quick, and I'm going to pretend that I didn't make this maximum width where my axle goes through. I would where my front axle goes through. So if I go to outputs now and go to specifications, I should get something red. Okay, good. So if you get something red here, you need to go back and fix it. If you don't, your car is going to be out of spec when it races, and that we're going to go over later. But if you can fix it before you race, it's even better. Okay, so the width of the body at the front axle is 37, and that's the minimum, that's the maximum, and mine is at 32. So I need to make it wider where the axle is. So I'm going to go back here, I'm going to go into my top profile, and I'm going to move those points out to be maximum width, okay? And now my car should be good to go. All right, when you are all done designing your car, then you can click up here on File, and you're going to pick Save. And you're going to give your car whatever name you want. I'm going to call this car 3 because I've made 3 cars in the process of making these videos. And I'm going to pick Save and Enter Competition.